I'm going to tell you the most South African thing that happened since the song Pata Pata and everybody dancing around in the neighborhood. Except this time, everybody is crying in the neighborhood because the only thing that was that accurate in describing our nation was taken down this week. You see, a company called Solidarity had a plan. And that plan was to reveal just what South Africa is in front of the entire world without really saying anything. You want to know what that could be? That is putting a giant billboards around where the G20 summit will be held that say, welcome to the most race-based, law-ridden country in the world. Because South Africa is a country with the most race-based laws. And you want to know who got angry first? The very same government that benefits from all those race-based laws. Panyaza Lesufi came with his big belly, shiny glasses and shiny hair. Oh wait, he's bald. And talked about how he was going to remove all those signs and how those signs are an insult to the racial injustices South Africa and the South Africans have faced. The man gave such an emotional speech, you would have shed a tear. Actually, you're a monster by not shedding a tear, you moron. He gave such an emotional speech. He talked about how they were going to remove all the boards, and they did. For the first time ever, Panyaza Lesufi did what he promised, which is what no ANC member does, and did his best to remove most of those billboards. If I'm not mistaken, they're still removing those billboards right now. But from the latest information I've gotten, they've already started removing those giant billboards that were made by Solidarity about how many laws that are race-based South Africa has. And I'm sure you already know what I'm talking about. There was no way you were on Twitter and you didn't run into those billboards. They're those giant orange billboards that are supposedly in the center of Joburg where the G20 summit is going to be held. When I saw that, I burst out laughing like the white guy with the big nose from Pink Panther, because of how true it is. I love it when someone talks about my nation accurately. I loved it when Trevor Noah used to mimic Jacob Zuma and was so accurate about him on his comedy shows. I loved it when Leon Schuster used to mimic black people so perfectly in his movies. I don't know how he does that. I also loved it when Solidarity put those very accurate billboards in the center of Joburg where the G20 summit was going to be hosted. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, when you have visitors, they must know the whole truth and nothing but the truth. We cannot lie to visitors, especially if you're the first country to be hosting such a big event. We hosted the World Cup, was awesome. We're going to host the G20 summit, not going to be so awesome, because 2010 is not 2025. Johannesburg of 2010 is 10 times more important and 10 times better than the Johannesburg of 2025. Hence why Solidarity had to put those billboards. It was a way to show the world what exactly is going on here. Did you actually know this? Watch this. South Africa has more race-based laws now than it had during apartheid. Peak apartheid. I'm talking peak apartheid, when soldiers were breaking into the black people's homes and terrorizing the kids. The whole Marikana massacre, the Bisho massacre, the youth uprising in Soweto in the 70s. That time had less laws that were race-based than South Africa has now. If that doesn't shake the little noodle inside you, then I honestly don't know what does. Because I hate to seem like the coconut for calling out these very much truths, these very big points. But if I have to, then I will, because no one else will. Why should someone seem like the racist if they're calling out race-based laws in a country that is actively trying to oppress its people? It's not even like the black people have been helped by these race-based laws. We all know these race-based laws are against white people and racial minorities. Cool, but mostly white people, because even the racial minorities do benefit from BEE and so forth. Fine. You want to know something? Tell you what. Most of the black people, which is what BEE is supposed to benefit and other race-based laws are supposed to benefit, don't even feel like they're benefiting from anything. Why? Because the same names have been benefiting from the very same race-based laws that they have imposed by themselves. Do you get it now? That's why you'll walk down the street of Hillbrow and ask the random black person walking down the street if they feel any better than the 1990s, if they were alive at the time. They'll tell you no. In fact, it's even worse because the place he used to sleep in is even dirtier now. So this race-based law and all the other race-based laws, including BEE, are not helping the black people. In fact, what it's doing is it's making everything worse for the black people while making everything 10 times worse for the white people, because these laws were directly targeted at white people. You get what I'm saying? If I'm not mistaken, there were less than 50 race-based laws during the apartheid era. Now, there is less than 150 race-based laws. I thought we were living in a time of democracy. I thought we were living in a time of equality. Yay, women empowerment, vote ANC, get your job, go to school, get your degree. Everybody's treated the same here. Apart from the fact that there's 100 plus race-based laws in your nation and you always fumble like a little slug under its temporary shell every time you're asked about it. Taking orange posters down is not going to undo any of the race-based laws you imposed on this nation post-apartheid, which is crazy. Hearing race-based laws and post-apartheid in the same sentence is almost even crazier than Squid Game Season 3. Almost half as crazy as me hearing GTA 6 was postponed until even later on for next year. Completely ridiculous. What's even more ridiculous is that we somehow think it's going to be less race-based laws when these posters are dealt with. The Solidarity race-based laws poster is not the problem here. It's the actual race-based laws that are the problem. This is like if your teacher complains, your child's teacher, for example, comes to you and complains about your child's behavior in class, and then you kill the teacher in the end. The teacher wasn't the problem, it was the student. I'm not saying kill the student. You had to discipline your child in order to make them obedient and actually get the marks you want them to get and the marks that will help them in the future. It's the same with this situation. We can talk about how Solidarity is trying to be racist all we want, which is actually very contradictory. I just wanted to cover this situation with you because I honestly find it so funny how we'll be the first to call Solidarity racist for putting up those posters, whereas they were the first to actually tell the truth